longer pencil. Use the longer one. Okay. Every year I do this, and every year one or two smart people get a hold of me and get my help in developing their growth plan for the coming year. Now, I don't think it's great to wait till the end of the year in order to kick yourself in the butt to make sure that you get your head straight about what you're doing for the following year. But it does line up nicely with the fiscal planning, right? Most businesses start their fiscal year on January 1st. So this is a good time to do it. Now, for the newer founders amongst you, a lot of you don't know who I am, and it's quite funny, but I've been around a long time. I've been selling online since 2010, 2011, and I've seen a lot of things come and go, and a lot of people flash in the pan come and go, and I'm still here. And I've developed better businesses than I started out with. I had a 15-year corporate career as an executive, and then moved into online marketing back in the good old days when you could do and say a lot. And nowadays you have to be a little bit more careful. So for the new folks who are just starting out their businesses, and if you happen to stumble across this, my advice for you is to focus. Okay? You go on LinkedIn, you look at people's profiles, and you'll see something. Okay, the people who hop from thing to thing, they don't accomplish very much. It's the guy or the gal who is stuck with a business for 10 years, creating some sort of weird beef jerky business or something like that. I'm not kidding. That makes it go, that has a success out of it. It's not somebody who hops from thing to thing to thing, and I know that from my own life too. Sometimes sticking with things can be a little bit difficult, but I do know there's this thing, the exponential growth curve for your business, and it just crawls along really slowly, right, as you're fighting along day after day, month after month for the first couple of years. And then it hits an ignition point and goes up, and it's a lot easier after that. But if you switch from topic to topic, this week you're a web designer, next week you're selling SEO services, the following week after that, or next month you're a lead gen agency, you're not going to get very far. You keep going back to, if you remember the graph 0, 0 on that growth curve, you go back, it resets every time, and you get to start from the beginning, which is why those people who stick it out get better and better results. This thing, Cold Start Tech, was an idea in 2016. I started it in December 2016, and I was running another business with a friend of mine, and took a couple years away from it and then came back to it, and I've just stuck with it and iterated it ever since, and managed to get into space and defense fields, which are far beyond what most online marketers are thinking about doing. And I had to get past imposter syndrome in this field as well, thinking that I had to compete with all these Stanford engineering graduates and that kind of thing. It's like, no. I bring process improvement and business sense from another field into space and defense, where it's very well appreciated. But to get there, I had to iterate. I had to figure it out. I am in the process of redoing our website copy, and that has required a tremendous amount of learning and discussion, interviewing the target market, and some of you know I run a space and defense show. I share it here all the time, but I just don't get much reach on Facebook. If you want to follow me, I really recommend you do it on LinkedIn. I get a lot more interaction and results over there. But I had this idea last night. I saw a Facebook memory of me doing one of these talks like this from a couple years ago, and I was really unhappy with it. Actually, I felt that I was less coherent than I wanted to be, so I've written some notes this time, and I've got my brain in gear. Couldn't get the camera to tighten up, unfortunately. It wouldn't run through OBS right. It just kept giving me a black screen, but we'll go with this. So stick with the thing, okay? Don't hop from thing to thing. The belief in success, if I can get one idea across to you as a founder, the belief in success comes from you in here. It doesn't come from out there. It's not some magic bullet. It's not some $7 product you're going to buy that's going to suddenly change your life. It's not even a business in a box. Be wary of things that are called business in a box. Okay? What they usually are is some piece of one side or the other of the money equation, traffic or conversion. One little bit, and they've dressed it up a little bit. As far as the rest of it, they're just like, oh, you just take care of it. Like snap your fingers like Q from Star Trek, right? And it'll just magically take care of it. It'll watch out for this stuff, okay? So focus, stick with one thing, and persist. Okay, and be ready to adjust your approach, right? With Cold Star here, I've adjusted my approach 3 or 4 times. I started out, if you look back on the interviews and the episodes of the Cold Star project, I started out doing interviews with software as a service founders and some agency founders and that. And I found out that the SaaS people were really not interested in processes and systems installation, which is what we do primarily. They were just all over the place trying to market and make money, and they got some good business sense over there. They're interested in lifetime customer value and cost of customer acquisition and great variables like that you really do need to know in your business. But as far as organizing things and getting things down on paper into flowcharts and systems and stuff like that, they were not interested in that, right? I had to go somewhere else in order to make that happen. So that's what I'm talking about adaptability. But I haven't gotten out of this business, okay? So regarding your growth plan, I have done hundreds of funnel review sessions, and I used to charge like $500 for these back in the day. It's $2,100 for a 2-call, half day each session thing now that you can get from jasonkanigan.com, or just message me and I'll give you the link. And those are in depth, right? Like I don't expect a complete newbie who has no money and no business to afford that, right? I try to charge it 10%. 15% of the size of the problem, somewhere in there. That's an easy yes for a lot of people. But you have to have something going on, or else it doesn't make much sense. But if you don't have anything going on, or you've been slushy, you've been, doing okay, and then you back off a little bit, maybe take your foot off the gas, and then get back onto it when when you realize you need to make some money. That's not consistent, right? And so I'm going to show you how to be consistent here, okay? The number one problem that I've seen in all these funnel reviews, these funnel strategy calls that I've done over the years, and remember, it's been since like 2011, 2012 that I started doing those, is this. Just about everybody I talk to, every founder, every business owner, every product creator that I talk to does not have enough, anywhere near enough leads coming in to reach the money target that they have. And that's assuming that they've actually figured out their money target. Most of you are floating around with a very mushy, airy-fairy money target, right? I'll make as much money as possible. I'll try to do as well as I can. That's terrible. Don't do that. Get a specific number in there, whether it's $50,000 or $100,000 or $1 million or whatever you want, right? Whatever you feel comfortable with. You can look on my blog, my sales and marketing blog, salestactics.org, and learn about money tolerance, which is how much is a lot of money, which is a feeling that you have actually, and I have. Every one of us has it. And it's different for everyone, but we walk around thinking, until we know better, that everyone else has the same money tolerance, thinks $800 is a lot of money or something if your parents were arguing about getting a new washing machine growing up or something like that, right? As opposed to some doctor parents maybe who were arguing about $250,000 for a lot, a piece of property, right? Then that's a lot of money for that kid or something growing up, right? So there's all these imbalances, and it causes a lot of problems in sales. But you got to take an accurate assessment of yourself. Where am I? How much is a lot of money to me? And what is that money target? And I want you to stretch a little bit, okay? So if $5,000 a month is a lot of money for you, and for a lot of people it is, $60,000 a year is nothing to sneeze at, particularly in the United States. You can live pretty well on that number. Then, try and shoot for 75 or something like that. But you can always achieve the target and then raise it. You're not stuck there, but have this specific money target, okay? Whether it's $500,000 or whatever it is in your head, because subconsciously you're going to be telling yourself, this is what I want, this is what I need to achieve, this is my target. And that's very, very important. Much better than the wishy-washy, I don't know, or I'll think about it, as much money as possible. Terrible target. Get specific, because it will also show you in a second what you should pay attention to and what you should ignore. Okay. Now, remember I said that most of the people who I've done hundreds of funnel strategy calls with don't have anywhere enough leads coming in, like 10 times or 100 times less than what they need. I mean, it's a lot. They are beaten before they start. So these people will go bust their ass for the whole month or the whole year, and they will get 10% of the number of leads that they actually need in order to get this money target at the end, right? So that they're never going to get there. And it's sad. And they're trying really hard, but they don't know any better because they're chasing the wrong kind of opportunities. Okay? So what I'm about to tell you or share with you here is something that is going to enable you to filter and focus and choose something that will actually build up to get to that money target. Okay, say it's that $5,000 a month. If you want to make $5,000 a month, my advice to you is sell something for $500 and up. Okay, in fact, I think you should probably sell it for $5,000 or $2,500 or at least $1,000, right? Because you need to make that sale so many times, right, in the month to get there. And if you don't, it's not going to happen, you see? So if my target is to make $5,000 a month and I look at something that's an affiliate offer and I'm going to make $100 off of it, Jason Kanigan's not going to do that, okay? Because even if I bought traffic and that, I would never have enough traffic to get to 500 sales or 50 sales or whatever, right? It's too many. I would rather personally make one sale or two sales in the month. It takes a long time to filter through, right? Even if you're bringing people into a funnel, getting them to opt in for something, giving them a warm-up sequence, right? But this takes time. This takes like a week, 2 weeks, right? Maybe you could do it in a couple of days or something like that, but you're still, and then you got to churn, right? You have to have a lot of leads coming in. So my advice is to back out to the number of leads that you need from that money target that you want, okay? So you want three variables here. You want leads, just unqualified leads, just people falling in out of the air, right? Wherever you get them from. You could pay for them. You could do a joint venture, which I particularly like. You could create a Facebook group. You could do lives like this for some reason. I don't know. This is not very efficient. I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it because I haven't done one in forever. And so that's where people are coming in, okay? And they're undifferentiated. This is the wheat and the chaff together, right? They're just people who are kind of interested. The next variable is qualified leads, okay? And a qualified lead has three things. They have a need for what you have to offer. So they admit, they acknowledge that they have a problem that you can solve. And that can be, I want lunch. I'm hungry. And you got lunch. Okay. All right. It could be, I want to make money online, and you've got a course on how to do that. It could be, I want to play the guitar better, right? And you've got a course on that, or you teach people how to do that, okay? So need, budget. They have to have a size of the problem that's large enough to warrant your involvement, okay? So Jason Kanigan ain't going to sell no candied apples for $4. It's just not a problem that's worth my time to solve, right? But some kind of $20,000 financial software, CRM system, something like, okay, yeah. That's a large enough problem that I'm going to get involved, right? I can make enough money off of that to hit my money target, to contribute to it, okay? So you got to be thinking about that. And then the third thing is personality fit, okay, for a qualified lead here. So need, budget, personality fit. Do they have a problem that I can solve? They admit to having it. Do they have a large enough problem to warrant my involvement, or is it a waste of my time and not going to contribute enough to that money target, right, when I make the sale and I make a commission or I get the money for making the sale or whatever it is, right? And also personality fit, which is, can I get along with this person, or are they going to be a jerk, right? In my field, consulting, that's very, very important, right? It's less important in a product-based sales situation where people are coming in and it's automated and they're being fed a webinar or an email series or a PDF or a video series or something like that, and then being given an offer at the end, and then choosing to buy or not buy. But those people, we still have serial refunders. We've always had serial refunders, right? Dan Kennedy was writing about them in the late 80s, early 90s before he met up with Bill Glazer. He was publishing these huge books on how to have a mail order cassette training business, okay, tape cassettes. That's how far back this goes. And he had a bit in there. And I remember the person was allowed to do, and he would keep track of this with a file system, 3 refunds. And if they refunded 3 times, he called them a flatworm. He had this little diamond-headed drawing for it, and he'd kick them off the list. That person would be blacklisted back then. I mean, without any electronic help here. It's a file card system, right? And not be allowed to buy again. So you're looking for these 3 things, okay? Need, budget, and personality fit. That makes for a qualified lead. So what we're thinking of here is out of every so many unqualified leads that comes into the funnel from wherever, right? There's going to be one qualified lead, okay? Somebody who sticks up their hands, yeah, I need, budget, personality fit. And if you're smart, you can rig your funnel to give you the indicators, right? So they click here and they give you feedback to show you that they have need, budget, and personality fit. And you do this before you throw the offer in front of them. Okay, this is what I'm sure here's missing from a lot of funnels. They're just throwing offer after offer at you, and it's tiresome, right? And it's not a fit, and so it just gets rejected, right? My offers have a very high conversion rate. I wonder why, right? So the next step, the third thing, is sales. Okay, so out of every so many qualified leads that we bring into the funnel, one person is going to buy, and we're going to see this over time on the average, right? So we back out. We have our money target of $5,000. I've decided I want to make, let's say, 2 sales of $2,500 in the month. This is quite achievable. And I'm going to decide that it's going to take 10 qualified leads to get to 1 sale. So I need 20 qualified leads in that month. And let's say I need 50 unqualified leads. These are pretty realistic numbers. So I'm out to 1,000 unqualified leads, right, at the beginning of this thing. And this is why I said people have 10 to 100 times less leads coming into their funnel. If you write these numbers down that I've just shared with you as an example, then they really need. And so they're beaten before they start. So they work their ass off and pull in 100 unqualified leads, and they get 5 qualified leads and no sales. And it's because the numbers just don't work that way, right, for their funnel. So, and you may say now, well, okay, that's great, and it does give you an indicator of like, what should I sell, right? If I'm in that situation, I'm not going to sell something that has an affiliate commission of $200, right? It's not going to get me to where I want to go fast enough. I call this velocity, the velocity of sales that you need to make. So, and also, on an activity level, I need to go get that 1,000 person lead thing coming, right? I need those 1,000 unqualified leads coming into the top of the funnel. So that should scare you, right? This should scare you a little bit. This is what you're getting into in having an online business or having a business of any kind, being a founder, right? Is thinking through this. And this is very basic math, folks. A lot of people will be turned off by this point because I've just explained some simple addition, subtraction, multiplication. This is not complicated math. And yet, if you're turned off by this, probably shouldn't be a founder, okay? Or you need somebody who does like the math to be a COO for you or something, right? We may call it something else if you're a one-man band, right? But you need somebody to take care of these numbers for you. And you need to be cognizant of them because you need to know what to point yourself at. If you're an agency owner and you're trying to get to $50,000 a month selling $200 a month subscription packages basically for your help, you're never going to get there. It's going to be so difficult, right? You need to price yourself at a premium level there, probably of $15,000, $20,000 a month or something, and really start rolling. And that's a tough price point for agencies. $5,000 a month can be tough for a lot of people. So I work with agencies. One of my roles is operational excellence manager for a very large commercial roofing agency, one of the best on the planet, and it's very well run. It was well run before I got there. The guy who owns it has his head on straight. He understands strategy. He understands numbers like this, and he's a pleasure to work with. So he is clear about these numbers, right? So you got your. We'll cover this again. You've got the money target that you want to achieve, okay? You're going to back out to the number of sales that you have time to make in a month. If it's all automated, you have more time. If it's you personally doing sales calls, all right, you have less time than you think, right? So you need to price accordingly. This tells you what price level you need to be at, Okay. Then you're going to back out to, well, I'm going to estimate at the beginning, right? How many qualified leads do I need to make a sale? Jason says you better start at 10. It could be better. It could be 5. It could be 3. It could be, it's never going to be 1-to-1, but it could be lower than 10. But you should start there, right? And you can dial it up or pull it back as you get more data as time goes on, right? After you have a few months, assuming you survive. All right. A lot of people just don't survive of those qualified leads. So out of every so many qualified leads, I'm going to get a sale. Then I'm going to back out from the qualified leads to the unqualified leads coming into the top of the funnel. Okay. If you do this exercise and then get your planned versus your actual data going after a few months and watch it and make adjustments as you go, you will be so far ahead of everyone else. What I'm talking about here, I've been talking about for at least 6-7 years, at least, probably longer, right? And nobody does it. Everyone's flying by the seat of their pants and their businesses come and go. I wonder why. All right. This is not complicated. I work in space and defense. This is not rocket science. This is simple addition and subtraction. Okay. Now, you can ask questions below. Please do. Like I said, I had this talk with my friend Jeremy Pope. We were talking about explaining things, and we would talk at this level and think that we were clear. And yet, if you're newer to a field, your understanding level may be lower, and so that is what we're talking about just goes over your head. So don't be embarrassed. I've seen over the years group coaching programs where people were afraid to stick up their hand. This was particularly prevalent in England, in British culture. People didn't want to look stupid in front of their peers and ask the question. I mean, I ask stupid questions all the time. I was in Annapolis at the Naval Academy getting a tour by a DARPA program manager this week. And we were in the chapel, which is a beautiful building, and there was an organ up front, this giant organ controlling machine. Pipes are on either side, right? But this beautiful wooden custom thing with 500 pulls to make different sounds and stuff. I've never seen anything like it up close. Was there. And the music director was there who plays the thing, and there was some music, there were some mirrors on top, 3 mirrors pointing in different directions. And so I said, I'm going to ask the stupid question. We were chatting with him. What are the mirrors for? Okay? And so by doing that, I clearly demonstrate I've never been part of a worship team or been up on the stage or had anything to do with this kind of thing, right? And that's okay. I am okay with looking stupid for a moment. And he told me, for example, one of the mirrors was pointed at an elevator that comes up. Most of these churches are like a T. On one side of the T, there's this elevator that comes up, and he said the bride comes out of there. And when weddings happen, one of the mirrors is pointed that way, so I can see her coming out, and I know now it's time to start playing Here Comes the Bride. Okay, that was a long way around of sharing with you an example of being willing to ask a dumb question and look stupid. That's okay. Do it. Get the answer. So go ahead and write your question below. It's fine with me. I would much rather have interaction than silence. Okay. So for the more advanced business owners now who you probably need to go back and set your money target and go through that backfilling exercise that I just explained. But for you, if you're more advanced, I want to explain 4 systems. Okay. Every business needs these 4 systems. You are not special. Your business is not unique. Every business needs these, okay? I see people flying by the seat of their pants every day, and they wonder why their businesses suck, why they're tied up in meetings all the time and getting exhausted. That's very, very common, okay? Why things fall in the cracks, right? They don't have a system for sending things along from one thing to the next, right? They just don't know where anything is. They're trying to use project management software. And it doesn't work, and they don't know why. I've seen these things so many times, okay? Every business needs 4 systems, and I have been saying this. We can go back to a forum post that I wrote in 2011, 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago, okay, where I spoke about the first 3 of these systems, okay? This is not new, but it is news to a lot of people, okay? You need a lead generation system. I just talked about how important that is, right? If I need to go find those 1,000 unqualified leads every month to pour into the top of my funnel, well, old Jason He's not going to sit there plinking away at his keyboard like a keyboard warrior, getting into people's DMs and stuff. I find that horrific and disgusting, and I'm just not going to do it that way. And I'm not even going to do it the nice, polite, good way I know how on LinkedIn. I have an assistant for that, number one. Number two, I don't really do it that way. But those 1,000 people need to come in from somewhere, and that's 12,000 a year. Where are you going to get it from? So start thinking now, right? What webinars, joint ventures, partnerships are you going to do? Excuse me. The nice thing about partnerships, joint ventures, is if you can find somebody else who has an overlapping interest with yours, right? So the Venn diagram, right? And they have identified buyers already. That's extremely valuable. Like you'll see Nathan Latka, he's been talking about this for years, right? He'll buy up some cheap company that's the founder's gone broke. He'll pay $3,000 for it. He's not interested in the IP. He is not interested in the intellectual property. He is interested in the buyer's list. People who have demonstrated, well, it's not here. It's probably a good thing. Keeps me from buying things online. But people who take out their credit card and buy. A buyer is a buyer is a buyer, and there are people who will never buy. What I just said, that there are people who will never buy, is a revelation for a lot of people, has been over the years, okay? They keep banging against these people's skulls trying to make them buy as prospects. It's not going to work. There are buyers and there are non-buyers, and your job as a marketer is to separate the wheat from the chaff as soon as possible, okay? And if you can hop ahead and find somebody who has a list of buyers that overlaps with your field, your industry, your offer, you have something very valuable. In fact, I would say those people sound like qualified leads to me. And each qualified lead in the discussion that we talked about takes the place of 50 unqualified leads. And now you can start to see how you can use your brain to work smarter and get a multiplicative advantage. Okay? I don't need to go out and find 1,000 unqualified leads. Jason doesn't need to do that. Jason goes and finds somebody to partner with who can give him the 20 qualified leads already. Now you have to get out of poverty thinking, okay? This actually isn't in my notes, but it's a good time to talk about it. You have to get out of poverty thinking. I see a lot of people. There's a guy who writes a very good report on legal and geopolitical space issues every quarter. And he busts his butt and he writes the thing and he sells it for $200. Okay? It's not a lot of money. As a friendly thing, I offered to include it as part of an offer and also sell it on his behalf for some kind of commission. I don't care what, 25%, 50%, whatever, right? He wouldn't do it because he's so tightly focused and in love with that $200 that he can't think that he already has a cost of customer acquisition. Frankly, he's losing money on the thing. He doesn't realize it, but he is. Because the cost of him typing that thing up, producing it, getting it ready to send, and then going out there as the founder of the business, knocking on doors, talking to people, and getting them to buy this thing, although it's mostly passive probably, right? It's probably $1,000 or more a customer, though, really, for a cost of customer acquisition, right? As a founder, your time better be $300 or more an hour, right? You should be above $1,000 an hour is where you should be aiming at, and that should build into your money target, okay? Because you have a cost. And you think, founders all think, me included, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just my time, I'm not doing anything else anyway, this is non-scalable founder time, we can slap a euphemism sticker on it like that. You have a cost, I have a cost, and we need to acknowledge that. We exist, and so we cost money, right? Every day I have this office, it costs money, right? And I'm in it, and I have an opportunity cost. It could be doing something else. It could be going working for somebody else, right? For $15,000 a month or something, you know. So, first system, lead generation, okay? Where am I going to get that X number of people at the top of the funnel to be coming in? And it can be from different sources, and they add up to that 1,000 or whatever it is, right, for your business. Okay? So, but have a plan and have a system for it. The next step is qualification. Okay? This lines up nicely with those things that we were just looking at with the money target equation, right? How am I going to filter those people who came in to separate the buyers from the non-buyers, from the people who have need, budget, and personality fit from those who do not. How are you going to do that? I've been doing this for a very long time. It's easy for me, but for other people who are just starting out, they're not even thinking about it, and they're hammering away, throwing offers at unqualified prospects and then wondering why these bozos don't convert. Well, they're not your target market. Sorry. All right. Third system is you need a closing system. Okay. Everybody needs to turn some qualified leads into buyers, customers. How do you do that? And there's many different ways to do it, right? I've been a copywriter for over 25 years. I write darn good sales letters. And it's not cheap. And the reason is because I know I'm not my customer. I know I have to do research on that target market and actually talk to them. And I write darn good sales letters with the experience of having done that. And so that's a closing system, okay? Maybe that you could use, right? It's a sales letter or a video sales letter with a buy button at the end of it. Another closing system is the high ticket closer, okay? I don't really like that phrase, but a salesperson that somebody can talk to on the phone or a Zoom call, something like that, with a yes or no buying decision at the end. That is also a closing system, okay? There are others. So those are the three top systems, and again, I talked about those back in 2011 and every year since. And the fourth system is fulfillment or delivery. How are you going to deliver the solution, the outcome that you promised, that the person bought from you? How are you going to do it? Are you systematic about it, or are you all over the place, loosey-goosey, it's different every time? Right? You want that thing under control, or else the costs will spiral. Right? You need to watch out and that your energy doesn't get drained too as a founder. Okay, so lead generation, qualification, closing, and fulfillment. Those are the four systems, okay? Now, I'll remind you not to get too stuck or fixated on a target market or an offer or positioning at the start. This is an iterative process. Cold Star has gone through probably 3 now, and with the rewriting of the copy for the website, that's another turning the camera lens into focus, right? A little more. So don't expect to get perfect clarity at the start. It's going to take you a minute, okay? This is why those people have to stick with it for 10 years in order to be successful. That I talked about leading off this whole thing, right? The guy with the beef jerky business or something, right? Because they had no idea what I just shared with you so far here. They had no idea of the skeleton of things that I've just given you, right? They just stumbled along, started, stopped, put a little effort into it, maybe stayed alive, went and got a job outside in order to pay the bills to keep this thing going, right? They're doing things, you know, and they try different marketing strategies, they try different partnerships, they try different manufacturers. It works, it doesn't work, right? This iteration thing takes a long time. I've got a whole essay on what's wrong with copywriting, and it's the buyer and the seller of copywriting services. Haha, that should make you laugh, but it's true. Okay, the buyer comes in with bad expectations that the copywriter is some kind of magic bullet that's going to change their life, and the copywriter comes in with the attitude of, well, they paid me one amount and they're not really committed to sticking around, so I better do a great first draft, throw that copy over the wall, and run off to find my next client. Neither side has commitment. Okay, so there, if you can get a buyer and a seller to get together and say, look, money's off the table. We have an agreement where money is taken care of, both sides are happy, and we're going to stick with this to iterate through copy to find out what works the best. You know, there was a thing about the golden ratio fitness thing, exercise thing a few years back. Do you think that was the first draft or the first try of that VSL? I doubt it. It was probably the third or fourth try, right? Because they were making a little bit of money and they had the chance to stick together. Maybe they knew better. Maybe they had some experience and they knew better to stick around long enough to try a few different things. We're split testing things all the time. And you need a large N number. You need a large number of samples, large sample size in order to do real split testing. A lot of people think they're split testing. They're not. If you've got a couple hundred figures on either side, that's not split testing, okay? You need thousands. but don't expect perfect clarity at the start. You're going to have to turn that camera lens and get things more and more into focus. Your target market, their pain points, what do they want? What problems are you going to solve? You're going to get more capabilities as you stick with a business and learn more and fall more in love with it, right? And meet more people who you can partner with, right? I can do stuff that I couldn't do 3 years ago because of my partnerships in space and defense. I can help people with ITAR and EAR. These are things for selling and buying defense equipment and that weapons and that I couldn't do. I had no space law contacts 3 years ago, right? But now I have good arrangements with space lawyers because I recognized there was a problem, and then I went and negotiated with those lawyers for a favorable rate that I can make a good commission on. Why? Because I'm taking their cost of customer acquisition away. I'm doing all the marketing, all the positioning, all the lining up of the buyer, and just handing them the order. And so they can afford to give me that. Okay, I actually started off earlier. I think I got sidetracked by something, but talking about this, if you know that idea of that lawyer who did the geopolitics and space law newsletter being so tied up about his $200 price tag and not being willing to give some money away in commission because he didn't acknowledge, he didn't know that he had a cost of customer acquisition. Everybody does. Okay, if you run an agency, you have a cost of customer acquisition, and you probably know that. All right? You can afford to give that away as a commission for somebody helping you out by bringing you a qualified lead and lining them up for the order. Now, they have to do a lot of work for that. Don't get me wrong. But if somebody is doing that for you, you don't have a cost per lead. You don't have a cost per call, right? You just skip all that stuff and go straight to the sale. That's nice. And I will reward that person for bringing me that lead. Okay? A couple more things I want to talk about here. Processes and systems. These are the guts of what we do at Cold Star Tech, okay? We install these things, not just for space and defense, that's prestige client stuff, but also some pretty cool agencies in that, right? So, what is a process? I have had many years of experience with this. I was trained in it, an operations management graduate, 1994 to 1996, okay? Bald under here. And seen a lot. All right, and I learned how to do the investigations and flow charting for real that people started to talk about in 2015, back in 1994 through 1996. 50 people started my program, 30 graduated. It was a meat grinder, okay? So when I see people whining today about how hard they're working, I'm like, take it with a grain of salt, depends on the individual. There are some people I know, yes, it's true, they are killing themselves doing this, but most people, they're just not working that smart. So, process steps, okay? You can flowchart this stuff. What are the steps that it takes to get to the end result that we promised or that we want to get to, right? So if we're onboarding a client, this is a big one. This is a big one. I co-founded a company, an agency, and our our onboarding document, Google document, was like 1 or 2 pages at the start, ballooned up to 16 pages after a couple iterations, right? I mean, you got to watch for this stuff. There's a lot going on in these things, right? That each process step needs to be documented and followed. And the point is, it's got to be like making McDonald's burgers. I can hire Jimmy, the 16-year-old, give him a flipper and stand him in front of the grill and have him make the sandwich right every time so that the customer doesn't go berserk and they know that they're getting a consistent product wherever they buy it. Okay? That's what's important here. That's what a process is. Systems are collections of processes that are organized to get to a result. So a lead generation system. A lead generation system has a number of processes in it. Okay? And I've got a diagram about this that we use for operational excellence. I'm on the board of advisors of the Operational Excellence Society. These are big, Lean Six Sigma, if you've heard of that. These are big programs for large companies that we create and sell, along with the OPEX Society. And that processes and systems builds into OPEX from tasks and that. And I've got a nice little triangular diagram I'll link to below when I'm done this that you can check out to see how it all fits together, okay? But you need to be thinking in terms of systems and processes. And in fact, the money equation that I shared at the beginning is a system, right? It shows you what you need to be doing as far as activity goes. Okay, if I need to make 2 sales a month, and I've got 20 qualified leads coming in order to do that, and that's my estimate of what I need to have the time to have those 20 calls with those qualified leads, right? So if I'm not having one call every working day on average, I can look in my calendar and see this, right? Again, not rocket science. I don't even really need a tracking system for this, so you probably should, but I can look in my calendar. I got a big screen over here with the calendar on it. And look, do I have a call every day booked, right? And if I really want to knock it out of the park and ensure I hit my money target, do I have 1.5 or 2 booked every day? Remember, going back to the very beginning, the big problem that I've seen with company founders over the years on funnel strategy calls, nowhere near enough leads coming into the system to justify getting to their money target. They're never going to make it. Don't be that person, okay? Find out. Gulp. There is a gulp factor. Let's acknowledge that. Okay, let's acknowledge it and move on. Okay. Instead of just floating along, hoping things are going to work out, because they won't. You're going to be the windshield, the bug hitting the windshield. That's not going to be good for you. Okay. All right. I've shared a lot here. Because it's free, most of you probably won't value it. This is the kind of thing that I usually share in a coaching call. For people who are making at least $40,000 a month, or would like to be, and can really see that, realistically see that in their future, in your future, it's probably a good idea to talk to me and get in on these 1 or 2 spots that I'm going to have available for lining up your 2022 funnel strategy, growth plan. How are you going to do it? And we'll go into the details, the specifics for your business, and figure out how we're going to do it. Going through everything that we've talked about that I have covered very briefly in here, and a lot more. there's a lot more. But the skeleton of having a good business, a good, repeatable, reliable business that generates the money that you need it to generate month after month and keeps you alive, right? And if there is an emergency and something breaks, you know where to look. All right, the system that I've shared with you actually teaches you where to look. Is it on the traffic side or the conversion side? You can diagnose. Other people can't do that. Newbies are always trying to mash traffic and conversion into one thing. It doesn't work. All right. So anyway, I've given you enough warnings. If you think you're a fit, you've heard me talk for an hour, whatever it is. It's been 42 minutes. That's a while. That's longer than I intended to talk. You should have an idea of whether we're a fit on a personality basis or not. You should know whether you have a problem the size of which warrants my involvement, and you should know whether you believe that you need this thing or not. You need my help or not. If you do, reach out. You know where I am. Appreciate you listening to this. I know it's fun, but it's long. I know to listen to these things, but this is my gift for Christmas for 2021. Talk to you soon.